feels confident in his abilities to win his game here at the GSTL 2013 Season 1 covered. To the top right of the map, we have our Protoss player. He's starting for Axiom-Acer, of course, with a win against Yoda. He won his first match today. Can he do it in the second one? We'll find out. This is
Axiom Crank.
Red keyboard, I'm loving it.
Yep. And starting to the bottom right now, once again, a Zerg player, this time for LGIM. Called himself Lucira for a long time. Now his ID is
LGIM Kongo.
You know what's funny is Kongo sounds like Songho.
Yeah, a tiny little bit, but his taste in nicknames is definitely better.
Much better. I could not agree more.
One of the things that I wanted to tell all of you currently watching this live, you can definitely go and check out ISC on QuakeNet, the channel for the GSL, hashtag GSL. Get in there and chat with colleagues and talk about the games. There are a lot of people in there talking about it right now, so definitely make sure to check it out. It's always nice when you're at home and you're watching the games, especially when you have like a dual monitor set up. Just talk with a few fellow StarCraft 2 fans.
I love that you bring this up again. We used to talk about it a lot, but when you're watching at home alone, you don't have to be, because there's that IRC channel you can go where other people are sharing their opinions about whether or not Overlords are too strong, or if you know, Terran players should be making siege tanks instead of Widow Mines. You know, that's where you go and you talk about it.
I mean, one thing that is always important to me, it's usually a little bit more civilized than the Twitch chat.
Yes. Yes.
Twitch is great, I love it, but certain chats are sometimes a little bit...
There are these weird faces in the Twitch chat, and sometimes I see like Sundance's face in there, and I'm like, I don't know how Sundance's face applies to this 2-base timing push, but like, if you want to use that, that's fine. My face isn't in there yet, but I'm sure somebody's working on it.
I hope my face will never be in there.
Well, we'll see. As long as if my face is in there, I need a good hairstyle for it. He will see the Forge in the main, which is actually ironic, because normally you put it in the main to hide it. Doesn't matter at this point since he's not researching +1 just yet, but it's a good way to keep your opponent guessing about what strategy you're doing.
This is one of those scenarios where things are going well for the Zerg player, because he has the Overlord. The first Overlord is always the one that you send out to scout your opponent's base, of course, at first. And the question is, am I lucky enough to find him at the right position so that I can actually get into the base, or will I have to go up to the top left again? Then he has a sentry out already, maybe a stalker. It's going to be more difficult for me to actually see what's going on without losing my Overlord. So this is the perfect scout that Lucira has here. The game is already starting very well for him.
Yeah, and in fact he goes for a very fast third hatchery after seeing this. He wants to sneak by this cannon. I don't think there's enough space for those lings to get by. The choke point on this map is pretty unique. That's why he can also feel fairly comfortable to leave the Forge in the main base, because he doesn't have to worry about the wall being tight, because the cannon will cover everything no matter what.
There we have once again this sick zoom, and I'm loving it. This interface is so cool.
Yeah, it's so great because it really gives you a full feel of the scope of things. As shown here once again. Like, don't overdo it, Legend, but yeah, like, fly casually, okay?
I mean, I can't completely understand Legend here. You know, he's like this kid that has suddenly a new toy, and you want to play with that, and that's exactly what he does here. I actually feel that he's restraining himself quite a bit.
Yeah, I want to add that there's a lot of features in this game heart that we haven't even seen yet that are kind of experimental, that Keller and I have had the pleasure to see off camera, and I can tell you guys big things are coming.
Well, right now we have those 3 bases coming up for Lucira, who went into a very early third base, as we pointed out after the cannon was spotted to the top right, as the Forge that is. +1 attack upgrade has been started here, so it looks like he's trying to apply some gateway pressure, especially since he's chrono boosting the hell out of this Forge.
Yeah, that is a really chrono boosted Forge. Now not so much, but it was spinning really fast. The question is, did the Overlord actually verify? He's now sending it down, so you will see the Forge is spinning. The thing about seeing the Forge is you always want to know when it starts, if you can, because then you have a good idea of how long it's been going. But in this case, he just knows it's being researched. It could have been started 2 seconds ago, or it could be where it is right now at like 3/4.
Yeah, the scouting information is always the most important part. If you don't see an upgrade at the forge, you know that there's most likely not going to be any early game pressure. There might be a fast attack for your opponent. This gives you a little bit more time in the early game to focus on your drone production, get your economy going so that you're ready for a push. But if there's actually an upgrade being researched, this usually indicates gateway pressure. And then you always want to know as well, if there is no upgrade, do you go into a faster robo and then start the upgrade? Will I see an immortal push that I have to deal with? So there are very different timings. Against the immortal push, you can even on 2 bases try to go for a swarm host defense. You can try to go for run buys. But in this scenario right now, Kango already knows, alright, you're probably going to put up some gateway pressure. I need to get my defense up.
He gets a Roach War and he starts a few lings. It's going to be, it looks like a 7 gateway timing attack. +1 armor is on the way. Now he has a choice whether he waits for it before he attacks or if he just lets it finish while he's fighting.
Smart. You know, I like this a lot. We've seen it used in the past, but more in an aggressive way. Burrow is now available on hashtag. You don't need your lair anymore. And if you look at what Lucira is doing here, Kango that is, he's getting his Burrow immediately because he knows, well, if you go for this much gateway aggression, you will most likely not have anything to detect. We have anything out here. And Burrow, this can be the key upgrade to win against the push to defend.
He's already seen the gateways in the main. He saw the gateway that's up on that high ground area that's reminiscent of Belshire Beach. He has all the information that leads him to believe this is a gateway attack. And Burrow is going to be useful later, even if he doesn't attack. So it's a very cheap upgrade, it's inexpensive, it's a great choice.
It's 100-100. This is something that you really want to have against a push like this, and it's going to help him a lot. There is no detection. You can always borrow these roaches, just regenerate the hit points and then pop up again. I really love what he's doing here. This is really, really well planned out, well thought out by Kango, and it's not going to be easy for Crank to bust through here.
Yeah, and this is going to be a push, though, that it's still difficult to defend. Look at this timing. One is done. And he can use some hallucination here if he wants to with his Phoenix. It looks like he wants to reserve most of his energy, though, for the Force Fields. And look at that. Normally, you would kill most of these links in this situation, but he just burrows them.
Yeah. And I'm not quite sure if Crank should really try to push through. I'm not quite sure if he can.
Right now, Crank is like wishing that hallucinated observers were a thing, but they're not. He's got 2 probes in here. Good Force Fields again, but as long as the Bullet Micro is good.
He's killing the pylon behind this army. He's taking out the Warp in pylon. He's using everything that he needs to. He's delaying this push so much.
Yeah, so many Roaches on the way here. Roach speed has even been started. The Stalker reinforcements are strong, but I mean, with Burrow here, you shouldn't be able to kill very many of Kango's units.
It's burrowing here again. The reinforcements are streaming in. This is very difficult for Crank to pull off. Here comes the rest of the units. The Burrow is once again being active. He's trying to snipe the sentries.
Drones being pulled here to help out as well. And he just burrows the Roaches when they're about to die, then pops them up when their health is back.
And he does such a great job here. He needs to get those drones back to work, though. He's pushing the push back already.
No robo on the way for Crank. He's just hoping that he can push through, but I don't see it happening with the amount of reinforcements coming. He's already got 15 Roaches out, and the number is just going to get bigger and bigger. He sent his drones back to mine, and the Force energy is almost gone.
Yeah, transitioning from this is going to be so difficult for Crank. I really don't envy him in this situation.
Absolutely not. Another good burrow here. He loses virtually nothing.
Wolf, this must be so frustrating for him.
Yeah, and there's nothing that Crank can do. He can't just start a robo and hope for the best.
He's trying to make it work, but just look at the supply right now. Once again, Kango is moving in. Lucira is on the move. He is going to fight this out.
Yep. Lucira, you want to call him Lucira, you call him Kango. I might have to call him the winner here because he's pushed this back. More lings coming through. Another round of warp ends, but the amount of units that Kango has is just way too much.
He's trading so well here. He already has his third up. He's mining. He is borrowing his heart out. This is just a great performance by him. And this one change from Wings of Liberty to Heart of the Swarm, this is what allows him to hold this off with ease.
Yeah. You know, we've seen players try to defend, like Moonglade was popular for doing this in Wings of Liberty on the Lair Tech, but in this case he has the ability to get Burrow and get enough Roaches out before worrying about Lair Tech. Now he's got Roach speed.
He snipes another sentry.
This is just really great micro by Kango, though the Zealot Warpin almost trapped him, but he could always just burrow.
Then, well, Kango is looking at this game and is like, I'm sorry, buddy, but that worked in Wings of Liberty. We are in Heart of the Swarm now. This is a new era. But Crank, I mean, he's not giving up here. And why would he? He is trying to go into a third base. He has a lot of gateway units. The transition into tech is just going to be so difficult for him. He's going to get an Observer into the match right now. The big problem for him really is that Kangho is way ahead in economy. He's on 3 bases. He has a good tech going for him. He's definitely the one who is controlling the game.
Yeah, he's calling the shots right now. And Crank has to desperately now try to take a third base. He's very Zealot heavy because he's made a composition where he used mostly sentries, so most of his gas was gone. Then he had to spend his minerals on something. He chose Zealots. Oh, Time Warp could be good here, but as far as I know, there's no Observer. He's in cannon range.
This is actually like really tricky. The force fields could take this down. An Observer should be here. Not enough energy to force fill everything off though.
Yeah, that was really scary by Lucira.
One of the things that we saw a little bit late, and now we have it on screen, is that there was a small run by to the third base, the potential third base, and there is a borrowed link by now. So this once again delays the expansion for Crank.
Yeah, this is very annoying. Crank needs that third base up desperately. Now he's being distracted by these things again. He sends his army over to the third, but meanwhile the Roaches come back to the natural.
I'm actually a little bit surprised that Kangho isn't getting a fourth base at this point.
Yeah, it's like he just wants to end it here. He's getting the Spire though, and that's going to allow him to make a very tricky Mutalisk switch while Crank is trying to defend against mostly Roaches with Immortals.
A lot of Zerglings are now also being produced, so he really goes for it. +1/+1. The Pylon being taken out once again. Burrow. This is so annoying. If I was Crank, I would be furious right now.
I would too, man. I'm sure he is. He only has 1 Observer, and he delayed it for quite some time because he really wanted to get those Immortals out so he wouldn't die. So he's relying on that cannon. The Lings come up, force the cancel on the cannon, and then burrow again. It's such a frustrating way to play, but it's so skilled.
9 Mutalisks are being built. There's the fourth base that we pointed out earlier. He's getting it now as he's building the Mutalisks. 12 of them, Wolf.
You know, Crank is not starting a Nexus. He starts the cannon. He has the Observer over there. Now he starts the Nexus, so it's a bit delayed.
That's 15 Mutalisks right now. This is awful for him.
Yeah, and he didn't see the Spire. This is tragic. He has some Stalkers out. He has 11 of them, but he can't be everywhere at once.
He has Blink, yeah. And here we go. There are the units in the middle of the map. The third base is going to be attacked by the ground units. The Mutalisks are now moving into the main. And those Stalkers are completely out of position.
No cannons, not a single one. He's being blindsided here by this attack. That Immortal comes out at a dangerous moment, but he's going for the two-pronged attack. Roaches and Lings on the left, Mutas on the right. Crank just does not have an army that's large enough to defend with both fronts.
Nah, not even close. Now the probes at the natural are being taken out. This attack to the left has been retreated, but we now have the cannon going down. This is just a matter of time from the looks of it. This is really... I'm not quite sure if any player in the world could possibly defend this situation.
Yeah, I don't think so, man. I mean, he's got the counterattack going on here.
He's running circles around him.
Yeah. But you're so right. I mean, when it comes to defending these bases, he's literally running circles and flying circles with his Mutalisks around him. He takes out the probes here, and Crank he's on his last leg.
Yeah, he is losing way too much here. The Harvester count is down to 40 against 71. The Nexus at the Natural has been taken out now. The Mutalisks, they're still going strong. There are Lings everywhere.
Then this is okay of a trade for him against these Lings, but it doesn't matter if he doesn't have any bases anymore. He's only going to have 1 Nexus he's mining from, and Kangho can back at home add Spine Crawlers, and as long as he's ready for the inevitable counterattack that comes with this, it just doesn't matter. And he's trapped. His Stalkers can't get in. He can't even blink in. There's not enough space. He loses his sentries here.
There is no Guardian Shield any longer. There are no force fields. Every sentry is down.
He can fight this, I feel, with his Muse. He just turns in and runs in.
It's not like he can exchange and Crank that is. There are more Mutalisks now coming, being produced for Kangho, and this is just a matter of time. At this point, that is GG. Game over, and Kangho, he takes game number 3 for LGIM.
You know, it's all about the scouting. He comes in, he sees the gateways, he feels suspicious, and then he starts the burrow.
He sees the Chrono Boost on the Forge for the upgrade. There's nothing else, and of course there are going to be more gateways. The Overlord even in the position where he sees one of them, and he's walking out of the booth, and it's like, well, that was easy. Yeah. Burrow really made it for him.
He really did make it look easy. Not only with the defense on the attack, his burrow was useful, but also how much he denied that third base with those Zerglings was extremely annoying for Crank. If Crank had stabilized and gotten that third base up and seen the Mutas, maybe he would have had a chance, but Lucira just didn't give it to him.
It's really very important to highlight once again the role that Burrow played in this game. Without the Burrow upgrade, Crank would have swept the floor with Kangho. there would have been no chance for the Zerg player.
Yeah.
But this, with the Burrow upgrade, that was just exactly what he needed to stop it. And the transition after this for the Protoss player is so difficult. It's basically impossible. Crank tried to do it, but Kango just used all the opportunities that he had. Every single opening that there was in the main base, at the third base, delaying it over and over again, getting the time for the Mutalisk, the fourth base. Perfect play after this by Kango.
Yeah, it was just solid. I mean,
Yep.
he multitasked like a madman with all the different flanks he set up, and how he was not afraid to continue to trade
Yep.
and delay his fourth base for a really long time. Now it's time for the final Axiom-Acer player, and I think that we have to see MMA here.
Yep, I completely agree with you. I mean, we have still strong players on this bench, so we have still Alicia, we have still Harper. MMA, Ryang as well, yes, but MMA, he was always the last player, and I feel it has to be him again.
Yeah.
Oh, actually,
Ryang
nope.
stands up.
Ryang takes it this time. MMA was the player they relied on the last time. This time it is going to be Ryang.
And I Am Coach has that nervous smile that you get when your expectation doesn't always turn out what you think it's going to be. Now he has to face Ryang. And we're going to see yet again a Zerg versus Terran.
Yeah, exactly. Once again, it's Terran player that has been sent out. MMA to taking a little bit of a break.
Yeah, you know, there was some error around Ryang in the makeup room when I saw him where he just seems like he's in the mood to tear somebody apart. Even more so than MC was with that arm wrestling stuff.
Yeah, that was actually quite funny.
Well, we'll see if Ryang has it in him. He is the last man standing up to take out Lucira and one final player. We're going to find out who that is when we get back from a 5-minute break. See you guys then.